Well, hi, and welcome back to the 9 in 9 podcast. We are going to talk about one of the Enneagram's hot topics, and that is subtypes. If you follow the Enneagram or you're learning about it, you probably are aware that in the last couple of years, the subtypes of the numbers have become increasingly important as we talk about primary motivation and how we are navigating the world. And so I wanted to take this month to break that down a little bit more for everybody so that when people are out there asking you, hey, what's your number? And you're feeling pretty good, like you answering what your number is. And then inevitably the follow up question, okay, well, what's your subtype? Well, this is kind of the next step that will help you on your Enneagram journey. This is 9 in 9 Enneagram Wisdom for Life. Let's dive in. This month, the episodes are going to be a little bit different than the format we've had in the past. Now, of course, they're all going to be 9 minutes or less, but what we're going to do is all 5 episodes this month are going to be for all of the numbers. So today we'll do the intro, and we're going to talk about what are the instincts, what are subtypes, why is this important? And then I'm going to break each of the subtypes down. So episode 2 is going to be for the social subtype. Episode 3 is going to be for the self-preserving subtype, and episode 4 is going to be for that one-to-one subtype. And then episode 5, I'm really looking forward to this, but I need your help. Episode 5 this month is going to be a Q&A of all of your questions. So I'm going to hold off on recording it. And what I'd love for you to do is just submit, like, what questions are you having about the subtype? What is interesting to you? What do you need more clarification on? So I want you to drop those questions in the show notes wherever you are listening to this podcast. As we dive in, I want to give credit to the people that I have been learning from over the course of many years. But first of all is my Enneagram mentor and coach, David Bell, who runs Enneagram Insight in Indianapolis, Indiana. He has mentored me and taught me so much. And so a lot of my information will come just from my mentorship with him. And then also Beatrice Chestnut has really been a pioneer when it comes to bringing the subtypes into the mainstream of the Enneagram. And so I have read and studied a lot of Beatrice Chestnut's work as well. So I want to make sure I give credit to B and David here as we get going. Subtypes. All right. Well, the first thing you might hear about subtypes is that we go from 9 numbers to 27 numbers. So the saying that the Enneagram is breaking you out of your box that you've built around yourself continues to be illustrated and so true as we actually expand the 9 numbers to 27. So before you feel overwhelmed by that, there are 3 subtypes, and those subtypes go with every number. So the number 1 has 3 subtypes, the number 2 has 3 subtypes, the number 3, etc. And that's how we go from 9 to 27. Well, as we get started, there are 2 definitions that we need to have solidified as we talk about subtypes. And the first of those definitions is the definition of the human instinct. And it's actually animal instinct, because this is a biological drive to survive and to thrive in your lifetime. And every member of the animal kingdom has these 3 innate subconscious instinctual drives. They are to be social, to be self-preserving, and to have a bonding or a one-to-one relationship as well. Because we all have these subconscious instincts for survival and belonging and bonding, one of them becomes the strongest. It's just like the centers of intelligence, having one that's very, very strong. We also have an instinct that becomes dominant. When that instinct mixes with our core motivations and our core passions, it creates our subtype. So the second definition I want to make sure we understand is just what a subtype is, and I've already kind of mentioned it. It is when our dominant instinct mixes with our Enneagram number. Now, this is why we have nuance and differentiation in each of the numbers. So maybe you are an Enneagram 5 and you know another Enneagram 5, but you don't feel like you're very similar. You feel like you actually handle things a little bit differently, and some of the maybe the stereotypical things don't feel typical for you. This is all because of instincts. And so while there is one number that is experiencing the same motivation, the same passions, the same blind spots, the coloring, the nuance of that number comes down to one of the dominant instincts within that person. So, what I want to do first is just get a really clear understanding of the basic biological instincts that are within all of us. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to first talk about them in the animal kingdom, because I think this is something that we can just easily observe. And then we'll talk about them within humans. And my hope is that as we do this, what I'd love for you to do is think about, what is the dominant instinct for you? Which one is the strongest? And which one is the weakest? All right, so let's dive into these instincts and really get clear on what the instincts are so that you can decide what is your dominant instinct, and then we'll go from there. Let's talk first about that social instinct. So, this is going to be around, do I belong? And what is the hierarchy? I think bees are a really good example of this, where every single bee is part of a whole group, and every single bee understands their role, where they fit into the hierarchy. They know who the queen is, and they understand their job within it. They are all working towards this common goal. So, bees are a really good example of a social instinct because they understand their belonging and they understand the hierarchy. When we talk about a self-preserving instinct, it might be good to think about squirrels that are working all summer and fall to store up nuts for the winter. Now, how do they know to do this? Like, nobody teaches them. I mean, it's just something that they instinctually do, that they know that they need to have food stored away in order to survive the winter. And so that final instinct is the one-to-one instinct, or the bonding instinct. Now, you might think about a peacock who puts their feathers up in order to attract another peacock, usually a mate, because they want to have that bond with like one other peacock out there. But I really love looking at animals and finding all three instincts, because that's how they work. We have all three, even though one is stronger than the others. And one of the animals within the animal kingdom that we can really see very clearly is within elephants. And, first of all, we know that elephants are very social. They have a herd and they have a very matriarchal hierarchy. And so they all understand where they are within that hierarchy, and they have deep connection with one another. When elephants die, they have very ritual like ceremonies that just show us what members of a community they are and how they care for one another in a very communal way. Now, elephants also have that self preserving instinct. Elephants will also travel long, long distances for food and shelter and water. And again, this is something that is just biologically within them. They will endure a hard, long journey in order to be safe and to have the necessity of food and shelter and water. And then finally, for the one-to-one instinct within the elephants, many elephants are known to have like a preferred mate, or even, how cute is this? A best friend. And so they will notice within elephant communities that there are little pairings of elephants, and maybe it's a best friend, or maybe, it's a romantic relationship. But there is definitely a one-to-one bonding that happens within the elephant herd. And so now we take this to the human experience, and how every human, again, possesses all three of these instincts. And I wonder if you're able to really identify which one is the strongest for you and which one is the weakest. That's the most important work you can do when it comes to subtypes. In the next episodes, we are going to break down each of the primary instincts and what it looks like within all nine numbers.